Hey everyone, another daily editorial here on the KE Report and an update on the lithium space. More of the DLE technology space, as I am getting an update from Volt Lithium. Volt recently announced news of a big reduction in operating costs through the demonstration pilot plant operations, as well as the first production of battery grade lithium carbonate. I am chatting with Alex Wylie, President and CEO of Volt Lithium, to discuss all of this news. Volt Lithium is traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol VLT and on the OTWCQB under the symbol VLTLF. Now, Alex, first comment here. Demonstration plant, broad update on producing a lithium carbonate from some of the brines being used at the Keg River formation at the Rainbow Lake project. Explain to us why this is such a significant step for the company, please.
Well, Corey, from my perspective, it's absolutely critical. One of the things that a lot of lithium DLE companies or direct lithium extraction companies have been doing is they've got the ability to produce a lithium chloride that ultimately gets upgraded to either lithium carbonate or lithium hydroxide. What we've decided to do in-house was produce our own lithium carbonate, and we successfully announced that on January 21. And that's really critical. As we've said all along, it's critical to have your own technology. That was the first step of what Volt was doing. We ran our pilot and then we built our demonstration plant. And having our own technology and the demonstration plant is so critical because we can improve to do things like what we did on January 21st, where we created a lithium carbonate.
Now let's talk about the February 21st news release, because that garnered a lot of attention, where the company announced you reduced operating costs by 64%. Now, this is all through producing lithium from the Keg River formation at lower lithium concentrations. So about 34 milligrams per liter, you managed to use your DLE technology and reduce costs. Take us through why it's important to understand what you're doing at Rainbow Lake, taking essentially production from an oil field and using your DLE technology to work with those brines to produce lithium.
Well, from our perspective, we're a big believer that the first lithium production in scale that's going to happen in North America from existing projects that are underway is going to be lithium produced from oilfield brine. And the reason is because oilfield brine is being produced today. And so our whole focus since we started the company was we needed to have two goals. One, we better have a technology that can extract lithium from oilfield brines. And two, we better be able to do it at a low grade. And so the press release from February 21st checks those two boxes. At 34 parts per million or 34 milligrams per liter, getting the extraction results that we did and dropping our operating costs is so critical. We took people through in the press release, originally at 34 parts per million. When we ran our pilot in the spring of 2023, our costs were north of 8,000. Today, as a result of the work that we've done in our demonstration plant, we're under 2,900 per ton. And that's so critical. Everyone's seen that the price of lithium has dropped. And so by the price of lithium dropping, you've got to be making sure you're the low cost producer. What we achieved on February 21st by having under 2,900 per ton at such a low concentration, we believe we're now in a position to be the low cost producer.
Now, can we make a direct comparison there, comparing this about $2,800 level per ton, what the industry is producing at lower concentrations?
What we see is at that 34 milligrams per liter, with those concentrations in oilfield brine, that's a critical milestone. We haven't seen really anyone producing lithium from such low concentrations. However, we're focused on what Volt's doing. And what we see as an opportunity is the major oil fields across North America, including the Permian Basin in the U.S., the Montney in Canada. Those are two of the largest producing oil fields that have a significant amount of water. We can demonstrate that we're now cost effective for any oil field across North America, which opens up a significant opportunity for Volt. To put it in perspective, the Permian today is producing approximately 18.5 million barrels of water from the oil fields. And that water, the concentration is anywhere from 25 to 50 milligrams per liter. At 34 parts per million, at under 2,900 a ton, we can do that profitably in any oil field across North America. We've demonstrated that we can do it in Rainbow Lake at 34 milligrams per liter. It translates in our ability to do it anywhere in North America.
So it almost sounds like you're focused more here on the bigger market. What oil producers are pulling out of their already existing production rather than looking at some of these higher concentrations? Because I know some people are probably wondering, well, what about higher concentrations? What sort of lower cost can you demonstrate at those levels?
Well, it's not exactly linear, but as concentrations go up, our operating costs drop significantly. And again, our process works for any brine. So as an example, the Smackover has much higher concentrations. Now, we're not focused on the Smackover. Our process works very effectively at higher concentrations. But our focus really is, can you do it at the lowest concentrations? Because that opens up the largest market. And what we see with Rainbow Lake is we're demonstrating not only to our shareholder base, but also to industry that we can do this on our project in Rainbow Lake. And again, that translates to any oil field across North America that has lithium in it.
So what more do you need to prove to these larger, let's say, oil producers that this technology works and that they need to implement it at their existing operations?
Well, what our focus is we've been able to not only do our work at the pilot that we did in spring of 2023, we've replicated everything that we're doing in our demonstration plant here in Calgary. And the next phase that we have to make a decision on is, what do we want to put out in the field to start for Rainbow Lake? And our inclination is to go higher scale, because we're showing that we can scale it here in Calgary to a small commercial type of operation. And that's what we're really focused on and looking into at this point in time. We had to hit the key milestones first. We had to be able to produce lithium carbonate in-house, and we had to drop our operating costs, and we've now checked those boxes.
So it sounds like what you've shown here, what you're telling me is that this DLE technology is capable of taking the produced water from oil and gas fields and potentially, judging by the numbers, economically turning that into battery-grade lithium.
That's correct. And we're very comfortable with that statement now because we've been doing it.
To that point, then, is it simply just about teaming up with oil field producers to utilize your technology?
I think what's important is, let's take a look at the market first. And the market from the oil and gas industry in terms of produced water today, I think can supply at least half the needs for the North American lithium market. And that's really important because when you're producing that much lithium, now you're not building a new mine. You're using existing infrastructure, so your footprint is so much less. And the other thing that's really important about it is we're not taking the risk of doing our own drilling. Well, in Rainbow Lake, we'll do some, but when you look at other oil fields, we're not taking a lot of reservoir risk, which is really important because this water is being produced today. To be the low cost and first to market producer, you have to be working with existing oil fields, in my opinion, and that's what we're doing.
So what comes next for the company? What more do you do at the demonstration plant? Can you further lower your costs? Do you scale up the demonstration plant? What more are you going to do here?
Well, we're going to be really focused on both. We have a number of goals that we're working on this year. One of them was, improving our process, being able to produce carbonate. And now what we're really trying to understand, especially up in the Rainbow Lake area, is we're working closely with the Deneta. They're supportive with us. What we ultimately want to do is do more work with the Deneta to hopefully really put us in a position so that we are good operators, we're environmentally friendly, we're focused on our relationships so that we can look to advance the project. Again, for us to get started in a commercial operation isn't a large number. I mean, what we put in our PEA, it's around 20 million. So this isn't the type of project where we need hundreds of millions or $1 billion worth of financing. We've got to just show that it works. We've got to put something in the field, and that's what we're making decisions on right now. But what our first unit in the field looks like, and then we start to articulate, work with First Nations, and work with potential grants or financing that works in relations with the First Nations so that we can go to market.
Okay, so you want to put a plant in the field then. It sounds like sooner rather than later. To that point, it's going to be Canadian focused, or would you go down into the US?
Well, today we're Canadian focused, and that's really important to us because we're proud of what we're doing here in this country. We're looking at all kinds of options, and ultimately, where we go, we'll see. I mean, industry is interested in what we're doing because we're able to do the lithium extraction at such low concentrations. Ultimately, where it takes us, I guess, as we continue to prove the work we're doing, we get much more interest in the bigger market.
Now, what sort of news can we look out for here? I know that you need to keep a lot of your data and all kinds of NDAs close to your chest, but news flow wise, what would move the needle for investors and for the stock?
Well, I guess those are two different questions. Moving the needle for investors in the stock, it's hard for me to say in these markets. What I can say is what moves the needle for the company. Well, we've done two pretty significant things that have moved the needle for the company already. And the next thing that we've got to really prove is what does this look like? We're looking to scale up our operations in the demonstration plant so that we can and when I say scale up, I'm saying not just have a bigger unit in the demonstration plant that we can ultimately take to the field. And so we're just going to continue improving our technology, continue improving our operations so that by the time we get out into the field, we're going to be very efficient.
So, what kind of capital does the company have available to it to keep moving forward with your plans this year?
Well, based on what we're trying to do up in Rainbow Lake, we're fine from a cash perspective. And so we're focused on the money that we raised last summer. We're being prudent with the money that we've raised last summer. And really what we need to do is provide some deliverables so that our shareholder base can see that we're moving the project forward from what does this look like in terms of having, is it either government grant support or is it Canadian Infrastructure Bank support? Like those are the things that we need to work for. What I can say is getting the PEA out in December was critical so that organizations like debt financiers, government grant people can see what the parameters are. And now what we're doing is improving on it.
Okay. Alex, thank you for this update. I'll post a link to the Volt Lithium website. You all can read over that recent news. Please keep sending me your questions. I will forward those off to Alex, and I'll get Alex back on the show when there is more news that we can discuss and hopefully some news on the company getting more out into the field or even any potential partnerships with oil companies, all of which I know just from the questions that have been sent to me could really move the needle for investors and the company. So, Alex, thank you very much for this update. I will touch base with you again shortly.
Thank you, Corey.